Jesus.
Oh my
god! They're remastering it! Oh my god! I love that game!
This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Oops, I misclicked. It's fine, I fixed it. Don't worry.
What do you... Oh,
Jam's breaking
Nothing.
shit.
Nothing!
fucking stop breaking stuff.
I
Do you-
didn't.
Lord.
Do you know what I
I
find
fixed
really...
it.
Do you know what I find really amusing is the fact that after Imogen missed
Me.
talking about golf last week, she actually found another way to play golf during the week with
Yes.
without all of us.
To be fair, I was coerced into that golf, so...
I was spectating.
True.
Oh.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is golf that could erupt at any moment with, high-speed antics and machine gun fire, so it's a little different to what we did the
No,
previous
it's instanced. It's instanced.
Oh.
It's no
Yeah.
I
hijinks.
could not shoot
You can
them.
fly a plane into that golf course, it will not do shit.
Okay.
I know this from experience.
That somehow makes
I
it a
was
whole
that
lot
plane.
less exciting. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, speaking of exciting, it is an exciting time of the week. It is Party Loaded time. It is Tuesday, the 12th of December, 2017, and it is
12-12.
12/12, yeah. It's heading towards the end of the year.
It's
Everything's
sound check
coming up.
day. 1, 2,
Christmas.
1, 2.
Yes.
Sure.
Dad jokes on a Tuesday.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah.
So Mimo, of course, is back. We've got Jam here. We've got Ollie here. I'm Luke, of course.
Hello.
Here to talk about the video games. And I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I think this is probably the busiest December that I ever remember when it comes to game releases. There's a lot more going on than I thought would be going on between...
Pretty nuts.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of indie releases, and we've got more Armello content coming, and all the Destiny stuff, the Game Awards. There's heaps going on at the moment. I'm actually, for the first time in December, struggling to find time to catch up with everything, so it's been a bit nuts. What about you guys? You actually gotten enough gaming in this week, or you found your schedule wanting?
Yep.
Yep. Well, we have 2 more episodes to get through before we have a little bit of a break and do some catch up. But as the penultimate episode tonight, we'll be talking about some of our party favourites for the year, which I'm looking forward to. It's going to be some good discussion. But before we get to that, let's chat about the stuff that we actually did manage to play. So the 3 of you managed to steal some time away from me when I was doing God knows what, and played some GTA during the week. But I want to hear about Mimo's flavour of that, because this is really interesting. So what did you get up to?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't terribly interesting, and it's the only gaming I managed to fit in the last 2 weeks, other than our game of the month from last week, was I jumped into GTA, and our friend Wuto was in there. He was talking about the golfs, and he's like, hey, we should play golf in GTA. And I was like, you can do that? Like, I thought it was just like go and like pretend to play golf kind of thing.
That's why
But
I
there's
find
a
it interesting.
fully,
I forgot that it existed. So
it's like a fully instant separate, I wouldn't even call it a mini game. Like, it's a full game. You can do 18 holes, and there's like wind factors. You can choose different clubs that act differently, all sorts of things. Yeah, so I was very surprised to learn that was a feature of a game that I've played nearly 200 hours of. I didn't know. I mean, I've zoomed around there on a golf cart. We had the great golf club melee fight of 2016, which was fun. But yeah, now the golf course can be used for golf. Who knew?
There's more than that, too. They have tennis. Next time we'll have to play tennis.
So yesterday I was like, yeah, who knew they had golf in GTA? And Jam's like, yeah, we should play tennis. I'm like, they have tennis? What's happening? Apparently there's tennis, darts, arm wrestling I knew about.
Yoga?
It's yoga. I didn't know. How do you do the anyway?
I don't know if that's a multiplayer thing.
Well, I know that
competitive?
yoga because the yoga stuff is actually part of the single player campaign as well. They introduce you to the mechanics of it, and
The
you can
single player
definitely do it.
campaign
I didn't play
has
that.
like marathon-y bike rides and all sorts of stuff.
Junk stuff
It's
to
nuts.
do. So now I propose a GTA Olympics of random events in GTA that we can all play, and we will come up with some sort of hinky scoring system and a trophy that doesn't exist, and it'll be great.
Yep. It'll be sweet. I seem to remember.
That sounds awesome.
Prove me wrong if I'm remembering correctly, but isn't there clay shooting somewhere as well in this game?
Prove you wrong.
Don't think so.
Okay, I could have sworn that. Maybe I'm thinking of
Not that
another.
I
Maybe you can shoot a
Definitely
guy
do
named
improv
Clay.
pigeon.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
you can shoot a pigeon.
Yeah.
Just pigeon shooting. Just straight pigeons.
Or just pedestrian shooting, just from a kilometre away. Yeah.
Yeah, guy's named Clay. Yeah.
That'd probably work. Nice. So that sounds pretty cool. And meanwhile, Jam and Ollie, you were getting your heist on. So anything in particular?
Yeah,
or
we
just...
tried. Well, we tried to do the final one. So Wuto hadn't heisted before. So we jumped on with him and Ari. And we kept dying a lot in the final mission to the point that we'd hit we'd bottomed out on how much money we could lose from being shitty.
This is the proper bank job one, isn't it? Where you actually have to keep the hostages at bay, and
you rob the bank, you grab $1 million, and then all the damage that the two people carrying the bags take loses you money, or maybe it's the damage everyone takes. We hit 550,000 and it stopped dropping, and we went, oh, thank God, and we still couldn't complete it in the time that we had. There used to be a sneaky way that you could park a vehicle at the apartment near where you collect the bikes. I had my vehicle in there ready to go, and it wouldn't let me in, so I think they fixed it.
No cheap doodling.
Yeah, and you're just so exposed on the bikes. Then we got kind of close to doing it and stuffed it up at the jumpy bit. Ollie and I died.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you were doing. I just didn't jump at the right
What you're
point.
supposed to do. You're supposed to fly off the edge and then leap out of the vehicle and parachute. And the cop car I'd stolen just was not
Jam
fast
drove
enough.
into a cliff.
Yeah.
That too played a factor in the dying. But
And I didn't jump off near the cliff. I jumped off on the hill.
It was still really good fun because he hadn't seen the mechanics and the way heists work before. So doing the setups was really cool. And that one's got, 5. So we worked through all 5 setup missions, and then we spent probably an hour on that final heist in one sitting before we had to call it.
Yeah.
So, it was a good effort, and it was good fun, but there's definitely easier ways to make money now. I'm out of pocket because we didn't complete it.
Oh.
We'll complete it, Jam.
Until
Don't
we
worry.
finish that final heist.
We'll get
It's
there.
like, damn it.
Yeah.
But the new one is out today.
The Doomsday
Really
Heist.
exciting.
Yeah.
Doomsday Heist. So we were kind of practicing, warming up,
Yeah.
getting
Ready for it.
I cannot wait
So-
to try this thing. It looks like it's got freaking
Yes.
flying DeLoreans in it or something. I don't know.
I know. It's just all of the weird and wacky vehicles that have been introduced since. It's exciting. I didn't even know they were still making heist content. So,
Well, this is the first one since 2013, I believe. So it's been a while. Been a super long time, actually.
not that long. Heists haven't been out that long. They didn't come out for a couple of years after.
Okay. I know it's been a long time, put it that way. It's been at least 3 years. So maybe it was 2014.
No, more like 2. Pretty sure.
Okay, anyway, we'll check the
Oh,
dates
look it
later.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's 4 heists already, so this will be the 5th one. And, the heists are pretty involved. Like, when they drop as content, there's a lot to them. So, and this one, from all the video footage we've seen, looks pretty involved with crazy stuff. It's like, GTA has just now gone full Fast and Furious. It's just insanity. So, which I'm all about. This sounds really, really cool. Like, equal mix, Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible. There's probably a bit of James Bond style action in there. It just looks great.
2015.
2015?
Sucker.
Okay. All right, there you
Yeah,
go.
I've got it here as well.
Maybe it was January 2015.
You're questioning me about GTA? Mate.
So yeah, that is cool. Looking forward to that. That'll be awesome. I remember what I was doing while you guys were GTAing. I was probably playing Hearthstone because the new expansion launched this week.
Twist.
Shocking twist.
Terrible
twist.
segue.
Yeah. Well, Kobolds and Catacombs launched late last week, and I opened up a whole bunch of packs and played a whole bunch of the new Dungeon Run game format. Dungeon Run's cool, guys. Like, I've actually spoken to a bunch of people this week who have not been sort of heavy Hearthstone players that have actually gotten in and played a whole bunch of the single-player Dungeon Run content. They've been really enjoying it. So, It's tough when you get to the later rounds. Like each dungeon run is 8 different encounters, and they get progressively more difficult as you go. But each sort of run that you have, you actually add to your deck. So depending on which class you pick, you start off with the same cards in your deck every single time. But the boss that you're up against each round is actually randomized, and I think there's something like 80 or so different bosses. I don't know the exact number. So there's a lot of replayability because the ones that you come up against each time you go back in are different. And it's literally like roguelike in that if you lose a round, that's it. You have to scrub your run and start again. So the only downside to it is there's not super awesome rewards. So when you kind of get through, you can unlock a special card back if you manage to complete the dungeon run with every single class and get through all 8 games. But apart from that, it's not like you're sort of earning packs or gold or anything like that. So except for your first couple, there's like a bonus for just your intro ones. But yeah, no, apart from that, expansion is really cool. There's a lot of fun new decks doing the rounds at the moment. So everyone's playing with cool, new, interesting stuff. There's no single powerhouse build that seems to be taking over. So it's the Wild West at the moment. And that's exactly how I love to play the game. So it's been a good time. Any of you keen to give Dungeon Run a shot at some point? Does that sound like something you might be willing to take a crack at?
Yeah,
No.
I tried to update Hearthstone on my iPad and I ran out of space. And then I ran out of attention span for updating Hearthstone.
Yep.
Brutal.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I think maybe.
That's actually an interesting question because that's a game that just keeps on having assets added to it. So I wonder what is going to happen eventually with that because they just keep on adding stuff. Like the fact that the game supports, wild format with all the cards ever, that's going to mean that the file size for the game gradually keeps on going up. So I don't know.
It's an absolutely huge app. Like, I don't know that anything on any of my devices app-wise challenges that other than maybe my photos.
May I ask how large Hearthstone is now?
Almost 2 gig.
Really? I thought it was more
Jesus.
than that. Okay.
Well,
Well, last time I checked on my phone, because I had to delete it off my phone, I think it was 1.8, and that would have been a couple of updates ago.
Okay. Interesting. So
Wait, I've got my iPad here. Continue talking. I will tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm just doing the math. So every expansion is typically like 120 something cards plus extra, sound files for each of the interactions. Plus the game board. There's usually a new board. So there's quite a bit of stuff that goes into each addition to the game. So not to mention all of the gameplay, sort of animation assets and that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's a fair chunk. So there you go. But as long as the game keeps being fun, I have no problem with that. If my phone is just a Hearthstone machine, it's a good use of my phone as far as I'm concerned. So. Other thing we've been playing this week, I guess, is a bit more Destiny. So, Ollie, you've still been playing a whole stack of Destiny, which is cool to see. So, how are you finding the expansion content now that you've finished the main game and getting into the new bits?
Expansion content was pretty neat. I like their cheeky idea of like the replayability by going, here's a place which has infinite possibilities. You just enter there and it infinitely randomizes things. I'm like, you cheeky motherfuckers. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm still getting raid ready because they lifted the cap for it. So we'll wait and see once I do a raid or two. Give that a crack. So then I have the full Destiny experience before I can pass final judgment on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still going through it. I'm still happy playing it. I'm not
final
like
judgment.
Yeah, well, it'll be. I mean, that seems fair, right? Play all the content to know what it's about. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not like I must continue playing this at all costs, but it is enjoyable. I'm a fan.
Yeah. And Jam, have you been finding the Curse of Osiris stuff?
Pretty good. I like the adventures on Mercury are fun to do and really challenging to do on Heroic.
Yeah, we
is
did a
neat.
couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done the strike yet.
Mm.
Unfortunately, haven't had a chance to see it. The only random ones that popped up were the other ones that I already knew. But some of the content's cool. Got the sweetest helm. What was my helm called?
Oh, I don't know, but it looks like a giant deer or something.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really.
It's like a weird stag head thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't the stag. It was the other one, I think.
Well, the first thing that sprung to mind when I saw it was it looked like one of those masks from the Hannibal TV series. So it was...
Oh, it is called the stag. I was wrong. It is
there
the
you
stag.
go.
I thought it was the other one.
Hooray! I remember
It's really
that
sweet.
thing.
Yeah, it's been good fun. I like some of the new gear. Don't like some of the other gear. And the content's cool. I'm going to keep playing. I mean, clearly, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's good.
Need to play it some more. Need to keep playing all of the content.
The single-player campaign bit for the expansion I found to be a little bit repetitive, but it actually was a decent chunk of story. Like the number of missions were were decent, I thought. So
Yeah, I didn't like the final one.
yeah,
I thought it was a bit cheap.
Yeah,
The final fight.
and boss fight was bland.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool. Cyrus is cool. So what's she called?
Sagira, the ghost.
Sagira. Yes,
Yeah.
she's kind of cool.
I love how the ghosts are the best characters in the game.
They really are, aren't they? They really are.
I mean, aside from Cade and another character I'll be mentioning a bit later.
Yeah, but he's a robot just like the ghost, so he basically is the same thing.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. Racist.
I play a robot. I'm allowed to say it.
Oh, I see. One of the entitled minority.
That's not how this works, Dolly.
Shit, been doing it wrong for years.
No. Yeah. No, it's been a good time. It was a little dismaying, though, I've got to say, during the week, seeing the Crucible devolve into laser tag fights, which probably dovetails us neatly into some of the news of the week. So,
Can I just pause for one moment, though?
yeah, go for it.
Do you want to revise how big you think Hearthstone is, Luke?
Oh, God, okay.
Uh-oh.
How far off were we? Considerably off?
Well, I haven't got the most recent update, so it's obviously larger now, but it's 2.58 gig,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's
which is a large app.
that's a bit closer to what I thought it might be. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's a bit silly.
Anyway, sorry, ruined your segue, but I thought that was important information.
No, that's cool.
Yes.
That's cool. That shines some light onto the topic. And speaking of shining light, your opponents.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Yeah, so Prometheus lens is broken.
Yeah. We all
Also,
know
I
this.
really enjoy using it.
Yeah, because it's broken. Everyone loves
Because
it.
it's so broken.
Well, by the time this episode posts, I'm sure that they will have patched it. I think that might have actually been going in today. So they posted on the Bungie Twitter, and there was a blog post as well, sort of saying that what they've done, because they only had a very short amount of time, is they've actually nerfed it hard as opposed to trying to balance it. And apparently they're going to be trying to balance it properly with a full range of testing in early January, which I find that to be a bit disappointing.
Mate, it's Christmas. Relax.
Seriously, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Even Bungie's allowed Christmas.
You want them to work over Christmas?
No, I don't want them to work over Christmas, but I also think that, this was so blatantly broken that the fact that it shipped with this in the first place is a big fuck up. So,
Yeah, but it's, comparatively not so big.
Yeah. But, I mean, what they turned around and did is they gave it to Zur to sell, as, one of the rare items for this week, which meant that everybody, of course, went out and bought it, and they had, basically laser tag matches on the weekend. But the fact that they've now turned around and nerfed it, the following week, I'm just like, oh, great, I just spent all these legendary shards on a weapon that's now useless for a month. So that's a bit annoying, but I don't know. Minor wins anyway.
It made public events a laser light disco, and that was well worth the price of entry.
Yeah, there were articles going up online today about people using the weapon to apparently make dick pics on walls within the different areas. So,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a thing.
All good time. Yeah.
And another thing that happened that we discovered when we tried to raid was that they raised the minimum level requirement for the raid, which people aren't happy about, and they actually apologised for today, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
It's a bit disappointing that people who could raid 2 weeks ago no longer can.
Well, I don't know. I've got mixed views on this because I think that what the real problem was, where they actually raised the level cap for different bits of content beyond what is possible without owning the expansion. So if people owning the base game were suddenly locked out of content that they previously had because it goes past the sort of 300 light range into the expansion territory, that actually broke a couple of the PlayStation trophies as well. The trophies were actually unattainable unless you own the expansion, which was a bit shit for people who like that kind of thing. So, but on the other hand, I can kind of understand why they did it, because I think it's good to have some of the end game content that is appropriately leveled for, whatever the highest level in the game is at that time. But you got to find a balance that doesn't cut people out.
Yeah,
So
if you release the raid, if you release the raid before the expansion and people still playing vanilla content want gear to push them over 300, they need that raid gear. To lock that raid gear after level 290, it's going to slow them down to a crawl. it's not cool.
I think the mistake they made wasn't releasing the raid before the expansion. I think it was releasing the prestige raid before the expansion. So if they had kept the prestige level raid out until the expansion went live and then put it in at a level that you can only do with the expansion, I think that would have been fine because it wouldn't have set expectations and then changed them, pulling the carpet out under people.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But still, the raid content is raid content that purchased with the vanilla. Why shouldn't you be able to experience it in full with the vanilla as it stood on release?
Yeah.
It's I'm glad that they're apologising and fixing it.
Yeah, it's all about the communication stuff again. I mean, the fact that they've turned around and owned it, I think, is a good sign. So yeah. So that's Bungie copping it a bit sweet again this week, but that's okay. We had other fun stuff. We had there was a bit of an announcement. Well, I say announcement. It wasn't really an announcement. It was an update of sorts from Square Enix regarding the new Tomb Raider game that is in development that we've all kind of known about for a while, despite the fact they haven't formally announced it. So, the going title that everyone believes it is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because apparently there was a leak about a year or so ago when someone saw some documentation, but they haven't actually said whether that's the case or not, and it could change. But they put a post up on the official Tomb Raider Twitter account during the week, just before the Game Awards, which I think was actually probably a clever move, because getting it out just before the Game Awards meant that people knew there wasn't going to be an announcement or footage at the Game Awards, which was speculated by a few. So getting out ahead of it was probably a good move. So Square Enix is excited to share some big news with you next year. Honestly, we wish we could share it with you right now, but we're taking a new approach this time. A new Tomb Raider game is coming. Driven by our goal of putting our fans first, we want you to know that it won't be very long between the official reveal and when you can play. Our journey together will begin with a major event in 2018. We simply can't wait to take you on Lara Croft's defining adventure. So, given that there's a Tomb Raider movie coming out pretty soon, the timing with that makes a bit of sense. But like the last game I can remember that we had the announcement of the game actually being, in existence, and then the release happened very shortly afterwards, was Fallout 4. And as I recall, that timing went down pretty well with people. So, kept the excitement and the anticipation, pretty high instead of, dragging it out for a year or more. So what do you guys think of that? Are you excited for a new Tomb Raider? I know Imogen and I are still yet to complete the last one, which I might try and do that over the holidays.
It's on my to-do list. I have not started the second one, but I've purchased it, and I think I installed it. I loved the first.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'm gonna have to catch up because I'd love to play this next one pretty quickly. But saying that, my pile of shame is huge.
Shame.
Yeah, it's definitely a pile of shame game for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, should we move into the Game Awards stuff then? Because that was probably the big stuff that happened since we last recorded. So the event happened.
Nah.
Did any of you besides me actually watch the full thing, or is that just a highlights reel for most of you? Yeah.
Negative.
So I did watch the highlight reels. I watched the results.
I watch the thing every year. Like I watch the full presentation and then all of the pomp and ceremony and the announcements and all that sort of stuff. I got to say the Game Awards this year was by far the best, and it wasn't even close. Like they knocked it out of the park this year. It was a really good show. So one of the things they did, which I think improved the production quite a bit, is they had a lot less of the cheesy sort of tie-in advertising. So last year they had like the Chic Hydro Man, which was like a giant, human razor blade costume, like the guy promoting, the Chic brand razor blades. It was cheesy as. It was just really forced and didn't, fit the vibe of the rest of the event. And, people in this industry know when stuff like that is just not hitting the mark, and it was pretty clear. So, but this year all the ads were tastefully done. It was kind of what you'd expect of a major awards show. It was, just short clips in between announcements, and it wasn't pervasive in the same way, which was good. So, and yeah, there was some genuine sort of touching moments and some really cool announcements and trailers and some big games. So it wasn't just sort of small indies getting time on screen. There was actually some pretty significant stuff, and the awards themselves were pretty good too. So I'll just sort of cover off a couple of parts of the announcements and stuff before we talk about the awards themselves. So there was one big sort of moment which has been getting a lot of talk this week, which is the developer for the the A Way Out game. I don't know if you guys saw this.
I watched that. That
it
was glorious.
Hilarious. So Joseph Fares, who's the dev from Hazelight Studios, he had some time in the spotlight on stage with Jeff Keighley, and I don't know if he was drunk or stoned or a combination of all of the above, but man, he was funny as. So it
was great.
His rant, he's just like, fuck the Oscars and flipping off the camera and all this other stuff, but everyone seemed to take it really well. It was pretty funny. So,
well, because at its core, it was a passionate, like, expression of love for the industry and for games and for people being supportive of him achieving his vision, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was just gold, and I wish they didn't cut him off.
The most entertaining part was Jeff Keighley's attempts to actually get him off stage. He tried and failed like 3 times.
Great.
It was hilarious. Oh,
so
man.
good.
Yeah. But,
and he kept saying, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
It just kept going.
This is my time to shine. It was great. Oh, man.
It was lovely.
They had Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty sort of up doing some stuff. Kojima and Norman Reedus were up sort of presenting some bits and pieces. We had another trailer for Death Stranding, which was like over 8 minutes long. Did you all watch that?
Yep.
What did you make of it?
I am really looking forward to this game. I really like universes that just go, here's what's happening, deal with it.
Yeah.
No real explanations, just go. It's why Saga is one of my favorite comic books for that reason. It's just, this is how things work.
Yeah.
Figure it out. I love that.
It is a weird fever dream looking game. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That can't be the only thing, though.
No.
If that's its only draw, then it won't hold up to, I don't know. I haven't watched the second trailer. The first one was weird as shit.
Yeah.
The first one was a lot more tame than the second one. The second one revealed what could potentially be like game mechanics and stuff as well, which was kind of cool.
Okay.
So I
think
that.
I'll be waiting for this one to come out and hear other people's experiences about the gameplay before I probably commit to purchasing it.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, it'll be one of the most anticipated games for the next, 10 years or however long it takes to get out.
Yeah, it might be sometime.
Who fucking knows? I would add a guess, say 2020 at the earliest. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. I don't know. There's some other big trailers. We had a Metro Exodus trailer, which looked pretty cool. I'm sure Ollie's keen for that. Yep.
There was that one twice as well.
Really cool looking game called GTFO, which was from the designer of the Payday series, which looks like a sort of Aliens meets Demons co-op shooter, which looked kind of cool. So we had some vision of the new PUBG map, which was pretty cool. A new game called Witchfire, which was like a dark fantasy shooter, which looked pretty interesting. Just on the topic of A Way Out, sort of talking about Joseph Fares before, one of the things that got sort of revealed is that the gameplay for A Way Out, the co-op gameplay, because the game is only played co-op with the sort of prison break mechanics, apparently you'll actually be able to own the game and play that co-op with someone who doesn't online. So that's
awesome.
Pretty fucking cool. So, yeah, that brings back memories of playing Game Boy games with people who don't own the same cartridge as you. They could play sort of remote play and do that, which was a really awesome feature at the time. I haven't seen many other platforms do that kind of thing. So, yeah. But yeah, lots of other bits and pieces. You should have a look online and check some of that stuff out. A lot of shade being continually thrown at EA as well, which was hilarious. So Bethesda put together this massive presentation about, save single-player games, which was obviously a reference to EA earlier in the year, sort of talking about how they didn't think that, a Star Wars single-player game was viable when they were closing down Visceral Studios, and that sort of got taken by a few developers and spun negatively. So, yeah, they were copying it sweet again, and some gas about loot boxes and things. But yeah, no, the whole thing was really, really cool. So as far as the awards go, what surprised people? What did you think was notable and that you wanted to sort of touch on?
I wasn't surprised, but I was really happy that Cuphead won Best Art Direction.
Yeah.
I was very happy with that. I was surprised that Nier Automata won Best Score. Now, reason I say this is I've listened to the soundtrack, and I haven't played the game, but I've heard the soundtrack, and so obviously listening into it in isolation is going to be a biased opinion somewhat. But for those of you that like the epic soundtracks, like your Two Steps from Hell, your immediate music, that sort of stuff, it is just that. It is just epic orchestras and choirs everywhere. And I love the shit out of that kind of music, but it was a bit oversaturated, for my opinion. Like, I felt that Persona 5 and Cuphead did their music a lot better. Destiny was a bit too generic for my liking, but Yeah, Cuphead and Persona 5 I thought were much stronger in the music category. But that's me. That's my personal taste. But yeah.
Maybe it was contextual, how they were looking at it, so the gameplay...
Yeah, exactly, because I don't have the context of the game applied to it. So, but that being said, I don't have that for Persona either, so that's all right. That was just my own little thoughts.
So Mimo was discussing with us earlier that Horizon Zero Dawn sort of got skipped over for pretty much everything, which was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously my fun is wrong, according to the people who vote on the Game Awards.
Jesus.
I'm not saying it needed to be Game of the Year. I think that everyone who won the categories is more than deserving, but I am surprised that it didn't pick up a single thing.
Yeah, me too.
I definitely think that it deserved something, and that's not just because I personally enjoyed the game. I think that it was a bigger game than people give it credit for. Maybe it came out too early in the year. It's kind of the curse of an early release and an end-of-year reviewed Game Awards, but who knows?
Okay.
But
I'll ask a question
Zelda
in that regard.
Sort of factors into that too, which, obviously did very well. So time of year, maybe not as big a factor when you consider that.
I mean, the things that it did, maybe games that were released later in the year also did. So whilst it was still a good game in its own right, it gets overwritten for some categories by something else just because it's fresher in people's minds. I'm not saying that it's a certainty. I'm just saying that I feel like, I don't understand how it didn't win anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
may I ask a question? And this isn't a gripe. I do agree. It should have been recognised in something. What would you have liked it to have won? Like, what would you facet of it do you think should have been awarded?
I feel like direction was probably the one that I would expect it to have the most. I feel like the way that it's pieced together, but still allows you to have your own journey, and the way that the game is designed around that showed real promise. And if anything, I feel like that's where it being earlier in the year and it did something really cool. Because when it came out, when people were playing it, they were like, this is awesome. This is amazing. Like, this is revolutionary. This is an indication of games to come. Brilliant. And then obviously we had lots of other games who came along after this and probably did the same thing and obviously better according to the judges. But yeah, I'm bummed.
Yeah. For me,
I agree
thought,
with the game direction.
I thought it would have been a contender for
Persona
art direction.
5.
Yeah.
Or art direction. Yeah, I think the style of it was really cool as well. I could agree with that. But yeah,
Mix
Persona
of
5
environments
winning
was amazing.
Yeah, and Persona 5 winning RPG was sweet.
Yep.
I really, really, really am happy about that. The fact that, I raved and ranted about the fact that it was even nominated in that category, I thought was amazing, let alone taking it out. So I'm really happy for those guys.
The one that really surprised me, but in a really positive way, was when Best Performance was given to Melina. Is it Melina or Melinda? Melina Juergens? Melina, yeah. For Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, because her performance was no doubt just absolutely brilliant, but she was up against some pretty heavy hitters in the form of, Laura Bailey and Claudia Black and, some real veteran
Ashley
of the industry.
Birch, Brian Bloom.
Absolutely, yeah. But she took that away, and this is actually pretty much her first acting gig ever. Like, she came up on stage and she was actually wearing her mocap suit. It was really cool. So, and, obviously did not think that she was deserving in that company, but obviously the judges thought that she was. So that was a real feel good moment. I quite enjoyed that, so that was cool. But yes, there was some big names. I think as far as Horizon goes, it was just a victim of 2017. If it had have been any other year, I don't think it would have been a problem. So
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think it would have been a contender for narrative too if What Remains of Edith Finch hadn't popped up.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just friggin' tough. This is really tough.
I know.
Yeah,
So many good
2017.
games.
If you win any awards in 2017, you've earned that.
Yeah.
You've done good.
Not to mention that all of these categories were decided on in isolation too, so it's not like they were trying to share them out amongst different games at all. So yeah, which was tricky.
No, look at Cuphead.
No, exactly. Yeah, but that was also fairly recent in people's minds too. So following Memo's logic before that could have played in. So yeah. And immediately after the Game Awards, we had the PlayStation Experience on the weekend immediately following, so PSX, which was downplayed a little bit this year. I mean, Sony had sort of, set expectations a little bit less than last year with sort of having a smaller presentation on the opening ceremony and not planning any massive game reveals or announcements, but there's a couple of things of interest there. One in particular that I'm going to get Jan to talk about now because she absolutely squealed like a strange animal when she saw this. So
well, it's not a strange. You're calling me a strange animal. I squealed like myself.
I said you made a sound like that. Well, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Jam sound.
Okay, fine. So I found out, as Luke was talking about this not half an hour ago, that they're remastering Medieval for PS4, and that made me so happy because I just remember that game being utterly hilarious and strange on the PS1, and I loved it and I adored it, and it got stolen when my house got robbed, and now I don't have it anymore. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Saddest story ever.
I know. It's the nostalgia I spoke about. Was it Bug's Life? I was talking about Bug's Life a week or two ago. The old game. This is the same nostalgia. It was unexpectedly hilarious and really bizarre, and I'm so keen. I clicked on the link for the video, but it's just a teaser. You can't see anything, but you can hear his voice in the background. I can't wait to see what he's going to look like. I hope it's still goofy.
I remember this game.
I
didn't play the first one, but I played the second one.
Oh, it was so good and so weird and silly and fun. So that was exciting.
I don't know what it was about that game, but it always reminded me of that cartoon, What's Under the Trapdoor or whatever it was called.
Yeah, because it's a
Trapdoor,
little claymation-y looking.
Yeah.
The way that they've shaped the character designs and they've got the bulbous eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a bit more shown for Detroit Beyond Human, a bit more of God of War. God of War, apparently, they've said after some of the information released on the weekend, game length is looking at about 25 to 35 hours, which is pretty decent for a God of War game. So that's pretty good. Apparently, the other big thing is that PlayStation Network usernames might be possible to be changed later in the year. So that's actually something that PSN users have been gunning for a long time. So yeah, that'll be a very welcome thing for a lot of people. Bit more chat about Death Stranding. The PlayStation 4 boss reckons that it actually does eventually make sense. And like, okay, cool, take your word for it. So, yeah. But good stuff. I think it's been a massive packed week of stuff. We can't talk about absolutely everything. But if you're interested in those things, Google Game Awards or just go to the Game Awards official site at thegameawards.com. And PSX, there's bits of news sort of popping up everywhere. So.
If you have PS4 VR, you can play a free demo of Moss, which is the game I've been raving about in terms of VR, the little tiny mouse. So if you have PSVR, you can try that out for free. It's available now on the PlayStation Store.
Nice. All right, well, shall we kick into the big segment for tonight? We've been building to it all year. This is going to be part one of our 2017 party favourites. So, as a bit of a recap, it is pretty much exactly what it says. We are going to be talking about our favourites. So this is a highly subjective category. Our opinion may differ to yours, and if it does, then just deal with it. Of course, we are not a big, media outlet when it comes to access to all of the games that release throughout the entire year. So there's going to be a few things that will be omitted simply for the fact that we haven't played them as much as we'd like to. But between the four of us, we've got a pretty good cross section of just about everything big that's come out this year, minus maybe one or two notable titles. So, but yeah, tonight we are going to talk about our favourite new characters for the year. Then we're going to go into our favourite moment or sequence in a game this year. And capping off the night with our favourite visuals and our favourite audio. And sort of selecting some of our favourite picks from each of those. So, Jan, would you like to kick us off? Let's go with that.
Our first category is favourite new character. So a character that's popped up for the first time in video games in 2017, which excludes, a lot of characters that are revisiting the consoles and the PCs and whatnot that have popped up over the years. And that made it a bit tricky. I didn't realise myself how many games I've enjoyed this year with good characters actually aren't original. So, yeah. But it was interesting considering this. Luke, did you want to start? What was your favourite and your honourable mentions?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to mention one game that'll probably not get mentioned a lot throughout the rest of the night, but I'll kick off with it. One of the characters I really liked, it's not my favourite, but I really liked Nakmor Drak from Mass Effect Andromeda. So he's the Krogan warrior. So he was probably my favourite out of that cast of characters because there were quite a few new characters added with Mass Effect this year. The rest of the game didn't really do it for me, but he was pretty cool, mostly because he reminded me a lot of Grunt and is it Drax in the previous one? No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, it's kind of, a bit of nostalgia for the original Mass Effect trilogy. So he was a standout for sure. Yeah, I really liked what they did with Senua from Hellblade. That was really, really cool. And I kind of hope that she pops up in another game. But whether that ever happens, we'll see. But my pick for the year, I'm actually going to go with Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. So that was a combination of character development and animation and appearance and unique nature and of course the acting done by Ashley Birch. I just thought that for something totally new and different and very personality driven character, she had that real sort of fiery spark of independence. Aloy was awesome, and I've really enjoyed this year seeing so much Aloy cosplay doing the rounds at the various different conventions, and people have been nailing it. Like, there's some seriously good costumes out there.
Oh, yes.
Depicting this character. Yeah. So, Aloy was really awesome, and I think that if they have made the character different, it would not have been anywhere near as good a game as it turned out to be. So, Aloy is my pick for favourite new character of 2017. There you go.
Ooh. Does anyone else want to jump on that?
All right,
do.
I guess.
Are we not doing phrasing
Ladies
anymore?
first.
That's not a
Ollie,
thing?
no, after you.
No.
I mean, I'm going to chime in then.
Okay.
Aloy is also my choice. So to tail off from what Luke was saying, I love her sass and her no-nonsense nature with the twits in the game. She's awesome. She's kick-ass and super sneaky for someone with such cool red hair.
It's all that red
I
grass.
love it. I love the character
Just stop
design,
grass.
the outfits, just everything. Everything was so amazing. And I haven't even finished the game, so I've got some suspicions and some assumptions about how things are going to turn out. I'm still waiting to see. But of all of the characters this year, she's the standout for me for sure. My honourable mentions, was probably Lewis and the Colonel from Destiny 2.
Lewis!
Them some birds.
Oh, yeah.
And Orisa from Overwatch. I'm an Orisa main, and I was unexpectedly delighted with how she played when she was released.
Behind
So
the
happy.
barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
So
was
that's
cool.
me. Memo?
Yeah. I have to say that I agree with you, but only by half, because my favourite character was Child Aloy. I thought she had such spunk. Like, of all the characters, and I know she, obviously we grow up and you play her in the game as an adult, but the parts that I really enjoyed was being able to see, how everything was formed, and I think that was an endearing way to introduce her as a character. So yes, it's Aloy, it's still Aloy overall, and I love her as a character, but it was Child Aloy who really sort of hooked in. And when she's all determined, and even though she knows that she's outcast and everything else, it was kind of nice. And what I'm loving is also that cosplay element, giving young women and even young girls a chance to cosplay as something like that is pretty cool. So that's what we like to see. More of that, please.
Yeah, the Horizon
great.
cast was solid. I just want to mention as well, there was another character in Horizon that, was a very, very close one for me. And that was Erend, who was one of the male warriors you sort of meet up with, and he plays, quite a large role in the story. He was awesome too. He was just very, very, personality driven, he was definitely flawed, very, very flawed. But, he had that great sense of humour that actually, complemented Aloy's interaction really well. So, yeah, Horizon had some great characters in it.
I didn't like him.
I know you didn't.
I think I have a picture of him with love hearts all around it. So
You sure do. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you said that. I was like, that's the guy I hate. We're talking about different guys. Oh, he's so frustrating. But my honourable mentions were Morgana, who is the cat/cat plus from Persona 5. Spoilers. She's just a delightful character, and I know that it's a common trope of an anime to have that sort of like personified character. But she. And I love that at the beginning of the game, you don't get real sort of clear direction about what's going on in terms of gender. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Let's carry on. Let's continue our lives. So yeah, cute little character. Loved him from the very start. And obviously, I would be remiss not to mention Buck Wild, that we all remember from my Dream Daddy.
Yes! Oh my god!
Who I got to stare at for a couple of hours while I finished that game. And special attachment because I created that monster. So
Jesus.
He's your baby.
No!
Oh,
Don't
God.
say that. Oh.
Well, I guess that
Ollie.
leaves just me then. So I'm going to start with
Yes.
my runner-ups, actually. So my runner-ups were a pair of Turians from Mass Effect Andromeda. So my runner-ups were Vetra Nyx and from Andromeda, because she's really smart, sassy, cool smuggler, mercenary that really just has a heart of gold deep down below her reptilian scales.
She was cool.
And then she is very cool. And the other one was Avitus Rex, who's the ex-Spectre, because he is, despite being an absolute badass who punches his way out of an escape pod, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't be able to do that? Oh, well, I guess I'm just that awesome. And goes, no, I don't want to be a leader, and then just rises to the challenge and is actually a really cool guy. I was like, yeah, you guys are all right. You Turians, you've done well in this new galaxy. But yeah, my winner for favourite character was Aloy.
Yay! We all agreed on a thing!
Is that the first clean sweep we've had? I think it is.
Yep.
So for me, it was because of a bit of ludonarrative synchronicity, which I quite liked, in that you start with her little problem, or I say little problems, you start with her problems in a very small space, and then as the game expands, the problems get bigger and match with it. So it was a really cool way that they weave the narrative of her own story. And I also liked her Wonder Woman-esque mix of that naivety and righteousness, as like, yeah, we need to fix this problem. So why don't we just fix it? Oh, because we can't do it that way. Why not?
Yeah.
It's this simple. No, we just can't. No, I go fix it like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, that's brilliant.
I just did it, motherfucker. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I really liked that. Like, I thought she was a very well presented character. They did a really good job of scaling her as the narrative progressed. And yeah, that's sass, yo. That's sass.
Yeah.
So much sass. Best sass.
Best sass 2017.
So Aloy, clean sweep, wins the round. Uncontested.
3.5 Aloys.
3.5 out of 4 Aloys.
That's right. Nice. So there you
awesome.
go. There you go, Game Awards. We're giving her some love outside of her
We can
process.
actually agree on something.
Absolutely.
That's fucking
I'm scared.
insane.
That's actually impressive, yeah. Speaking of impressive, let's talk about some of the year's most impressive moments or sequences in games or relating to games. So this can be any sort of, cutscene or a particular phase of a game or just a general sort of narrative sort of section or scene. Or it could actually be a moment in gaming. So something that, we've experienced or something that happened in the industry. Just, our favourite moment or sequence in general that occurred during 2017. So I am going to throw to Ollie first for this one to turn it on its head. So what was your favourite moment or sequence this year, Ollie?
I'm going to start with a couple of runner-ups and build up to this moment. So for me, I really enjoyed the ending of Cuphead. That final feeling of, just beat this fucking game. Fuck yes. It's a good fucking feeling when you finish that game. Holy shit. Let me tell you that.
I'm yet to experience it, but I'm looking forward to it.
Fuck, that game does not fuck around. So being able to say that you've beaten that game, I'm like, yep, wear that chip on my shoulder. Oh yeah. Fuck hard mode. No, not going there. Another runner-up for me was my first PUBG chicken dinner and like getting a few other chicken dinners, because we are decent, like our group of friends are decent at games, but we're not like MLG esport level apart from Jam's brother Sam, who's ridiculous. And so getting a chicken dinner is actually like a infrequent occurrence, but it does happen And so that sense of achievement that, yeah, I've just beaten like 94 or 96 other people, however many people started on the map. It's like, yeah, I feel pretty damn good about myself and my teammates right now. This is a pretty sweet moment.
Agreed.
I quite liked. But for me, was actually from, are we allowed to spoil? Should I just put a big giant spoiler warning? It's a very early on event.
I think this is a category that we kind of venture into spoiler territory a little bit, so people need to be advised. If you don't like that, maybe skip ahead 10 minutes.
Game are
I'll
you
forgive
spoiling?
you.
Yep.
Okay, so this is from Resident Evil 7.
Oh, I'm fine.
So,
I'm going to guess that a hand is involved in this scene. Am I right?
it is.
Yep.
Thank you for lending me a hand.
Oh, dear.
So with this one,
I've got my finger on the pulse.
very early on in the game, the whole premise of the game is you're going in to this place because you've got a communication from an a loved one, and you're like, holy shit, this person's alive, I need to get there. And you encounter that person, and she's a bit fucked up in a really not cool way. And she ends up chopping your hand off. And because it's first person with the Resident Evil graphics, you're like, what? Wait, what? My hand's what? So that just happened. That was a thing. And I'm
Is it
like,
similar
so
to the eye needle in like Dead Space?
so much worse because it's first person.
Ooh.
You're watching your hand get chopped off. I'm like, oh
Ew.
my gosh.
Ew.
As messed up as it sounds,
Unexpected.
this scene, because I knew about this scene, this is the reason why I only want to play this game in VR. So I have to experience this.
Can you please
what
let
is
me be there
wrong
so
with
that I
you?
can attack you with it? I mean, what?
Just hold him down.
I'm just going to touch something lightly to your wrist so that you flip the fuck out.
It's a straight razor. So yeah,
Was Oliver?
that was that was my favorite moment. Just for the sheer like, wait, what the fuck? I was genuinely not expecting that because like I'd seen screenshots from the game. And I'm like, but my character has two hands. What? Oh no! What? So that was great. I really enjoyed that. It's not often that a game like throws a twist at me that I wasn't like, oh yeah, I could see that one. This was just out of nowhere. I'm like, well played, game. Well played.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my pick for favorite moment.
So that's your winner, hands down. Nice.
Yep, hands down.
All right. Jam, I'm going to hand it over to you.
I would suggest handing it to Mimo because I happen to know that I'm pretty sure we have the same pick.
Okay.
Is it also Resident Evil 7? Another clean sweep.
Yeah.
Definitely. I secretly played the game that you know I would hate. Totally.
That would be impressive. Actually, my favourite moment of the year then would be the fact that Memo played Resident Evil 7. All right, go Memo.
No, in your life.
I don't want to steal all of Mimo's words in case I'm right.
All right, cool.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think you might be right. So, honourable mentions first up would be the betrayal scene at the very beginning of the trials of Horizon Zero Dawn. That was like Ori levels immediate emotion, and you'd already been on quite a ride and a journey before that. So, by the time you learnt all the mechanics of the game and done all this other stuff, then what actually happens is a bit too much. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great and a great way to kick off that game. But my favorite moment has to be from What Remains of Edith Finch, which is a piece, and Luke, this may be spoilers because I don't know where you are at the game, and if you're going to play this and you want to be super sensitive to spoilers, tune out for about 2 minutes.
Go ahead. Just go
Actually,
ahead.
yeah, if you are thinking of playing this at all, please don't listen because this game deserves you to go in with no expectations.
Yeah. So for like the next 5 minutes, just
Yeah, probably 5
skip
minutes.
ahead. Skip ahead 5
And
minutes.
at worst, you missed some of Luke's, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So there is a scene that you learn about a character, Lewis, and he has a job at like a tuna salmon cannery. And you learn through the story that he has quite a monotonous job, and he also was sort of losing touch with himself a little bit mentally. And what you're doing during this whole telling is physically using the controls to grab fish, move them into position, cut off a head, separate them into the right things. And so you're doing this very repetitive movement. before I knew it, they started telling the story about how he started getting engaged in video games and he started being really into like role-playing based games basically and imagining he was in this other world. And the game uses a mechanic to start overlaying this imaginary world onto what the repetitive task that you're doing. If you stop the repetitive task, it goes away. So you have to continue doing the repetitive task, and it gives you this feeling of, for lack of a better description, real hopelessness. Like it's just, there's a monotony to it, and then everything that's going on and how fantastic this world is and everything that he imagines. And it just really gives you quite an accurate feeling for what the beginning of that process must feel like for somebody going into a depressed state or something like that. And I don't know how this game managed to do it, but there's many, many instances of this throughout the game where you kind of know where it's starting to go and it becomes a bit like, I don't want to do it and I don't want to go there, but you know you have to, and the game forces you to. And so sort of forces you to sort of participate in what you would usually be watching on a screen going, no, don't do it, no, don't do it kind of thing. And also I was waiting for the moment that, inevitably happened.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was definitely my favourite moment or sequence of this year. So did I nail it, Jam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. The amazing thing about this sequence is that it starts very, very simply. In the corner of the screen in front of this conveyor belt of ugly fish and heads is this little 2D bird's eye view character just moving around. And then it grows a little and colours added. And then suddenly it's a little isometric and then three-dimensional. And the environments become more developed. And then you're using different mechanics. And the character that he's imagining in his head, like his new reality that he becomes king of, is using vehicles and travelling across maps and conquering other places and going to find his queen. And it becomes, the level of detail in it grows and the size of this imagined world starts taking over more and more of the screen until you can't see your hands shifting the fish to the blade anymore. And the narration is the psychiatrist explaining in a letter to his parents how it got to the way it did and what he'd been discussing in his sessions, and she was explaining what was going on in his head as you were seeing it visualized, and it was just incredible. I've never been so engrossed, and all of my runners-up for favourite sequence are from Edith Finch. The story of Gregory, the story of Walter and Gus, without going into any of it. Oh my gosh. Well, all of them were fantastic, but it was hard for me to pick one, but this was definitely it. It's extraordinary, and there was, right before the end, I stopped playing and I was not touching my controllers and I was just standing there because you can't avoid it. It's inevitable. It's a story. It's an act that's happened. You know what the outcome's going to be and you can see how it's going to happen. It's so confronting. It's so extraordinarily done. And I loved it. I loved it. It just blew me away.
Nice. This was the only category this year that I had an absolute runaway winner for. So, which kind of surprised me. And I think I knew at the time that it was going to be tough to beat because of how much of an effect it had on me. But that being said, there was a lot of honourable mentions, like a lot of really big moments that I thought were fantastic this year. From, some of the chase scenes in Yakuza 0 and Uncharted Lost Legacy. There were some real high-octane moments in those. That was really good. To the final battle in Breath of the Wild, where, when you do the final battle, for anyone who's actually played that game, you understand that, there's usually a bit more to the final battle than meets the eye. There's as you're striking the last blow in that combat, that's a really powerful scene for a particular reason, which I won't get into because you might want to play it. Yeah, there was some great stuff. The intro for Cuphead was phenomenal. Particularly the way they handled the tutorial and all that kind of stuff. The stuff you guys have mentioned was really, really good. But the one that stuck with me over absolutely everything else was actually the opening sequence from Prey, of all things. So the reason why this was so memorable is because the opening sequence for Prey actually is entirely crafted to set up your perceptions in a particular way that just fucks with your head when you realise that stuff is not what you thought it is when the game starts proper. So without spoiling too much, like the whole game is set on a space station, And you kind of when you start the game, you basically start in the main character's apartment, back on Earth, and you're basically getting ready for this upcoming mission. What happens between you getting ready for this mission and actually winding up on the space station is absolutely mind-breaking. It's awesome. So it throws you for a complete loop when you realise what the game's done. And the way that it sort of explains the plot of the game in that really sort of clear, succinct way. And, actually has the opening credits blend into some of the background scenery as well. It's really tastefully done as you're sort of flying through the air in a helicopter. It was just, from beginning to end, it was absolutely brilliant. And I loved the hell out of it. It was one of the most memorable moments during the year for sure. So yeah, Prey. There you go. That's a game that a lot of people probably forgot about. It was,
I actually
Flash
had
didn't
until
play?
you said that.
yeah, it was a while ago now. I think that came out in May, so it's certainly earlier in the year. But yeah, that was a great one, real good. And I would still highly recommend that game. I think it's a real good game.
So with our audio segment, so this is a part where we have maybe potentially our favourite music for a game, or favourite soundscape, or potentially voice acting, or anything along those lines. So with this one, I'm going to throw over to Jam to start off.
Oh no. Okay. I have a standout for this one, actually. I don't even think I have a noticeable runner-up because I fell in love with the audio of this game, particularly the music, immediately and listened to it repeatedly, and that is Persona 5. It is so awesome. The music, the songs that they've created for this group of teenagers who are trying to fight greedy, stupid adults is so empowering and cool and confident, and it's so boppy. It gets, when it's raining and you're chilling, it gets so gentle and jazzy, and it's just all around cool.
I haven't played the game yet, but I've listened to a bunch of the soundtrack, and I can see why you love it so much. It is really, really
It's
awesome.
so good. It suits the game just to a T. It's remarkable. It's such an eclectic mix of different things that work so well together. And the lady they got to do the singing in the main themes just sounds great. It just fits. It's so, I don't know. Is it jazzy? It's a bit jazzy.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Jazz and pop.
Yeah. And yet it feels so modern in a lot of ways too. It's just cool.
Agreed. All right, Mimo, is it Persona 5 as well, or is it something different?
It is something entirely different.
Ooh, nice.
Woo!
Unlike the Game Awards, I reviewed all of our categories and tried to share the love amongst the games.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. And I'm not going to say Cuphead for every fucking thing. Anyway, I am going to mention Cuphead as my honourable mention because I do think that the audio was pretty good. But there was a problem with the Cuphead audio for me, which is because you end up playing the game for quite a long time, it does get a little bit repetitive. At the ending, you're like, if I have to hear this song one more time, I swear to God. So it's really, really good, but it's a bit too much for me. I chose a soundtrack for a game that I actually listen to on quite a regular basis, and that is Horizon Zero Dawn. So this soundtrack is great. It features in my top songs on Spotify for the year.
I did see
It
that.
is a soundtrack that I have in the background of my life when I'm at home, which is quite cool. And I really enjoy it. And it's music that I really enjoy because I didn't quite realize that I was listening to music for a lot of the game, but then at times it fit really well. And it wasn't until I sort of bought the soundtrack itself that I was like, actually, this is pretty great. And realized that I'd been listening to music the whole time without realizing it. And I think that's quite a clever way to build video game music. So I guess that was mine.
Yeah.
Build it into the background ambience. All right, Lucifer, what have you got?
I completely agree with what Memo said about Cuphead. Like, I love the shit out of the audio in that game, but the product of the game means that it is repetitive. So, but man, just it's got the best style. Like, it's just, yeah, it's great. I disagree with what Ollie said earlier about Destiny 2's soundtrack. I actually really dig the soundtrack for that game. And it is suitably sort of, operatic and, big space sort of, climax kind of overtures. But I liked it. I thought it was, quite enjoyable. But when it comes to my pick for the year, I thought about the Zelda soundtrack for a little while, and I do like that one a lot, but it's got a lot of low spots, so it kind of, dips quite a bit at, a good chunk of the game, which is probably for the best because given the number of hours you put into it, you wouldn't want it to be too repetitive. But I can understand why people love it, but I don't think it's consistent enough. The one that is going to get my nod, though, is, and for the same reasons why it did at the Game Awards, the absolute best audio, in my opinion, this year, without a doubt, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And it's not just because of the soundtrack, it's because of absolutely every way that game uses audio. It is fucking incredible. So the fact that it uses directional audio to sort of imbue you with the sense of psychosis as you're playing as Senua, and some of the parts of the game, like particularly some of the sword fights later on, you actually can use the directional audio with the voices sort of speaking to you to guide as to where the next attack is going to come from without you actually physically seeing it. So, and it's designed that way. It's actually meant to give you that sense of perception all around you, by the audio. And some of the puzzle solving actually relies on it as well. It's absolutely incredible how they use audio in this game. And it's a game that you have to play with headphones on. You just wouldn't get the same sense of it, playing with speakers in a room, I don't think. But, man, it is memorable as hell. It's a standout for sure. I would probably give that best audio of the last... Actually, I was going to say last couple of years, but the Doom soundtrack came out last year, so no, fuck that. All right. All right, go, Ollie.
All right, so I had some very similar runner-ups in the form of the really, really cool jazzy sounds of Cuphead. I really, really liked that soundtrack. It was just fun. It was a good, fun soundtrack. I really like the Persona 5 soundtrack. I haven't played the game, but I really do like the soundtrack for it. But for me, personally, I have to agree with Luke. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. As soon as I played the game, and I think I talked about it on the podcast after I started playing it, I was like, the audio for this is ridiculous. Like, I raved about the audio of this game, and I'm an audiophile. So having, binaural audio, which is where they get two microphones to record the single speaking voice, and it gives a three-dimensional position, like you're actually hearing something when you have headphones on, is used so cleverly. It's so well done. Like, the voice actor is so good with it, and the way that the game incorporates it. Jam and Mimo, even if you're never going to play the game, find a Let's Play video and just watch the first 5 minutes. Like the first, just the opening credit scene.
I'm thinking I need to play it now.
Yeah, I kind of think you should. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I think you both would really appreciate with this game and the audio is that the VO in particular, just it drips with emotion, and the strain you can hear in her voice is just really strong. Like you get the feeling very, very intensely of what she's going through. So yeah.
Yeah. Like the sheer diversity out of the narration is so good. Like obviously the main voice actor, I forgot her name. I'm gonna feel really bad. Melina Juergens, thank you. She knocked it out of the park. She was fantastic for that. But I'm gonna mispronounce the name. I apologize to people because I'm mispronouncing the name. I want to say it's Chippo Chung. I'm probably wrong in that. I'm so sorry if that's the case. She was the narrator. She is amazing. Her the ability to go quiet in a game and have all the sound shrink down to a point is so good. Like a lot of games do the opposite. They do this big bombastic soundtrack, or they have just, this is the epic moment. You're like, yes, this is an epic moment. You're like, oh, this is great. But the fact that this deals with such, with all different variations of her mental state, that the quiet moments are actually more powerful as a result of their quietness.
Yeah.
Rather than being this overly loud projection.
I found that in Edith Finch, very much so.
Exactly the same thing, yeah. Where the stillness of the scene and the audio match, and it just synergizes so well. So for me, yeah, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, easily best audio. And Mimo, like I said, you would like this just from the mythology point of view.
It's on my list.
Really think, yeah. So Jam, Mimo, there you go. That's your holiday game.
Oh, I don't have much holidays, so no thanks.
That's fair.
I've got plenty to do. Yeah. All right. So Next up is our final category for this week, which is favourite visuals. So we're going to start with Jem.
Woohoo! I have a 3-way tie.
Oh, jeez.
But
Kill your children.
I can probably pick a favourite. So I'll start with Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch? Absolutely stunning visually, and the visuals are themed when you jump into a story about a family member of Edith's, and just the sheer variation in tone, in colour, in light, the way they use all of that to complement the story and the nature of the story for that particular individual is just gorgeous. And there's no dull moment in the whole game. It's only a few hours long, but it's magical. Persona 5, as I said before, it's just awesome. It's got the anime bits. It's got wicked bad, really bold design. Everything visually is amazing. The UI has been designed really well to be... There's a lot there, but you can follow it and understand it as it's introduced. The transitions between running around the map and going into and out of battles has been handled really well. It's dramatic. It suits the music. It suits the game. It's just really, really cool. But I'm guessing most likely my standout, and for a very good reason, would be Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, how many hours did you spend doing photos in this game? Fucking hell.
I have thousands of photos from photo mode because I will walk for 30 seconds and go, oh my God, this looks entirely different to that last time I took a photo. And I will start framing the scene and changing the lighting and... Oh my gosh, and when weather effects roll in and it gets windy or squally, the environmental design and difference between the arid landscapes to the forest to the snow, and then add to that, to all this beautiful nature, there is this mechanical chaos in some places. The designs of what were the dungeons called? I've forgotten.
The vaults. No, not the vaults. The cauldrons.
Yeah, cauldrons.
Yeah.
The cauldrons. Extraordinary. There's so disparate, these two themes, but they've blended them together beautifully into this exquisite looking game. And oh my God, I tried to whittle down my photos the last time I went through them. There's still so many. It's just beautiful, and I haven't even finished it yet because I keep getting distracted by the pretty. So that's me. Sorry.
All right. Luke, you're up next.
Yeah, it's probably fitting too because mine's Horizons as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for slightly different reasons to Jam, because I didn't spend quite as much time as she did sort of engaging with the photo mode, which, I mean, agreed. The fact that the game spent so much attention to detail when it came to implementing that mode, that's impressive. That's really impressive. But, I mean, I've seen the stuff in the expansion content as well, and it doesn't let up. It's fucking stunning. It is such a gorgeous-looking game. Like, the landscapes, the creatures themselves are so detailed. Like, each of the individual robot dinosaurs that you have, the actual art direction on those just blows me away. Like, what they're actually made to resemble and that sort of thing. The key locations of the game are quite unique as well. Like, some of the relics of an age long past when it comes to the wreckage and the debris of some of the machines that, on a larger scale made up these areas. They're
buildings.
Impressive. Yeah. And the sense of scale that it gives you on some of those locations, like even the main city of Meridian in the middle of the map, like that place is pretty impressive for a human-built civilization. But yeah, the whole game is nuts. The character sort of animations as well. There was a very, very minor bit of problem with the lip syncing, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really knock the visuals too much. The visuals are still great. So,
what's amazing is that every inch feels handcrafted. It doesn't feel cut and paste at any point.
Man, the
which is
costume
extraordinary
design too.
Because the scale.
The costume design blows me away. Holy shit. Like, each tribe just looks unique. It's got its own style to it that actually matches that tribe and fits with the aesthetic, like, perfectly. The art direction in this game is just insane. It's just not beautifully rendered
bits
graphics.
Of the armor that are, like, old things from another world and another time are really interesting.
Absolutely.
It's all plastic and metal that they can't identify, but we look at it and go, oh.
Yeah, it's nuts. Games that came close for me though, like there were some really, really good looking games this year. Cuphead for its own unique art style. You know, the fact that every single level of that game and almost every single enemy and boss that you come up against is unique. They don't reuse the same art assets at all. And if you look in the background of some of the boss levels too, there's actually they've made real sets that they've actually sort of videotaped on like a rotating loop. Like you can see it on the dragon fight level. There's actually like a modeled castle that they've got in the background, which is actually like they've made that for real. Like that's a prop. So that's not just digitally created in the game. They've actually, filmed that in real life and sort of blended it in with the graphics of the game. And they do that again with the genie fight as well, I think. There's like a pyramid thing in the background. So that's awesome. I thought Destiny 2 was really good as well. Like that's a super pretty game. That's a really, really pretty game. And I can't knock, anything Uncharted because, Uncharted Lost Legacy is just as pretty as Uncharted 4 was. There's just some stunning backgrounds in that game. And, again, the character animation was great. So, there was some pretty good looking games this year, got to say. Not bad at all.
All right, Ollie, how about you?
All right, so my runner-ups. So I really, really liked the design work for Destiny. Like the actual thought that goes into the designing of not only the landscapes, but also the various enemies and the armor and stuff. Loved it to bits. I really liked What Remains of Edith Finch. I'm a big, and just in general, can I say I'm very happy that game visuals now are diversifying. It's not all leading towards photorealism.
Yes.
I really like that we
100%
have
agree.
stylized games, that we have cartoon games. I love that so much. Like, that makes me so happy because for a while we were just chugging towards photorealism. It's like, I'm very glad that's not the case anymore. So for that reason, like Cuphead and What Remains of Edith Finch, I love those styles to bits. Like, absolutely loved them for their own reasons, because I love Cuphead's cartoon animation. I love that style of cartoon so much. It's just beautiful what they did. But for me, my winning visuals went to Resident Evil 7.
Ooh.
I gave it to Resident Evil 7. And the reason I'll say this is type in Resident Evil 7 screenshots into Google and tell me not one of those top 20 images doesn't look like something out of a nightmare. And it's just like, done. That mood is set. You have nailed it. Yeah, exactly. Like, it is just...
I'm doing it.
They did such a good job with the visuals in this game. Like, it looks rotten as hell. It feels so dank and dirty
it's really
and
creepy.
horrible. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, they just did such a good job with making the visuals oppressive and yet believable. Like, the house feels lived in. It doesn't just feel like a set. It feels like a place you could visit. Don't know why you ever would, but it feels like a place that could exist if you just like took a wrong turn on a back road in like some rural American part. Like, it is, they did such a good job. I love Horizon Zero Dawn to bits. Like, I genuinely do. I love the open vistas, like in Breath of the Wild as well. But for me, Resident Evil 7 just, absolutely nailed it as far as atmospheric visuals are concerned.
Cool.
Yeah,
Some
these screenshots
diversity
are pretty nuts.
up in here.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Yeah.
I am not Googling that. All right.
Yeah, no, you don't do that.
I've got a couple of runners-up. I got three sort of runners-up. Number one is Persona 5, because not only is this my first sort of foray into this sort of style of game, really, since sort of Final Fantasy a billion years ago, it's also just really well done. Like, for the same reasons Jam said, is the way that the UI is designed to make it an art style but also easy to use, what can be quite a complex system sometimes. I think it's really well done, and ties really well in with the theme. Like, nothing was jarring. I didn't feel like I was going between a menu and a cutscene and a this, that, and the other. It kind of worked really well. And it had this little full anime elements in there as well, with story cutscenes, which was cool. Also, honourable mention to Tooth and Tail, which was weird and wonderful and great, and I quite enjoyed from an aesthetic point of view. Again, agree with Ollie. Like, I like that we are creating games that can be good visually, but still have like an 8-bit or a cartoon style, paying homage to sort of some of the original video games. Sort of cheeky little entry here, because the update was technically in this year, was also the visual updates to the rot elements of Armello. I think that they've managed to make what is already a beautiful game more beautiful and make the visuals actually more tying into the story of the game, which I think is pretty cool considering how long this game has been out now. But my actual winner was Cuphead, and everyone has already spoken a lot about that, but it is every inch what it should be and what I hoped it would be. It's the different styles, not just what the visuals are, but the way that they used visuals as like weapons or blending things into the environment that you can and should use is so well done. And all of the bosses are spectacular. The use of the map is spectacular. It's very different, and I love it. And everything else, I mean, it would be easy to say Horizon Zero Dawn as well, but it was more sort of the story and the game that caught me than the visuals. Didn't take 1,000 photos like Jam did. It is my desktop background is Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's still my PlayStation background. So I like the aesthetic, but it's definitely Cuphead for me this year. Nothing can beat that.
I will say about Cuphead, the pink bits that you can bounce off of in that game, I actually missed so much of that content playing it early on because it blended so well with the background scenery. It was just seamless.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. It was right at the beginning of the game when the onion comes out of the ground and its tears are used as weapons. I was like, oh, that's genius. It's so smart. I really, really like it.
Game kicks ass. Nice. Well, that is half of our party favourites categories down. So next week, tune back in because we're going to be talking about such wonders as our favourite game feature or mechanic. We're going to chat about our biggest surprise in 2017. We'll, of course, have our favourite party game of the month of the year. And we'll cap it all off by counting down some top threes for our favourite game of the year overall. So that'll be a big one to get through. So tune in then, folks. And that will be our final show of this year. We will, of course, be back in early January. But, we're going to finish on a big one. I think it's going to be good fun to chat about that stuff and send this absolutely crazy fucking year off with a bang. Holy shit, it's been a lot of stuff this year. So speaking of stuff this year, is there anything else that you guys are going to try and cram in the next week? We're going to try and get some heisting in with the new GTA heist, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I hope I can actually afford a flying car. That's a purchasable item after the thing. So anything else? Anything else interesting?
Ooh, I might be able to get some Destiny rating in.
Oh, yeah, Rumu. Yeah, mention Rumu for sure. So Robot House is launching that tomorrow, I think. So there you go. You too will be able to play as your favourite little artificial intelligent vacuum
robot
cleaner. Yeah, exactly, detective robot vacuing. That'll be cool.
Adorable detective robot. Potentially not.
Depending if he's got his evil eyes on.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Or I'm going to grab Gorogoa, which is out in a couple of days as well. So,
ooh, please remind me so I can actually pick that up and play it as well.
Yep, I will. Apparently, the pre-purchase has gone live already for the iTunes store, so you can hop on and preload it now. Apparently, so there you go. I should check how much it is actually, or not that it really matters. I'll pay it anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, Jam, take us out. How can people get hold of us and all the usual stuff?
You can email us at mail@partyloaded.com. You can Facebook us at partyloaded. Twitter is at partyloadedshow. And youtube.com/channel endgame is where you can find us. Or you can Googles us because we are Googleable.
Mm-hmm. Great Googly.
Is that Googleable?
Mm-hmm. So, we'll try and get some new content going up on the YouTubes over the coming break. But, we've got lots of fun stuff to look forward to. What do you guys think about maybe capturing some of our heist shenanigans? That might be an opportunity to put some fun stuff in.
That would be funny.
See how that goes, Nice.
Shenanigans is the right word.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a glorious shit show, but it's going to be an absolute poo fest for sure. All right. Anyway, let's all get a good sleep and be fresh and ready to go tomorrow for that. But until next week, we'll look forward to chatting to you again soon. And thanks for listening. Good night.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.